So, Minister, thank you so much for doing this. Following your panel, I want to follow up on the question of the outlook for energy sector for Nigeria.
Oh, I think fairly good. We are obviously in the same bind that the rest of the world is in terms of the US incidence of shale oil and gas, and the fact that its emergence on the global oil and gas scene means that all countries, all producing countries, particularly I think those on the sub-Saharan African continent, have had to reassess the balance of their exports in terms of oil and gas and begin to find other emerging markets which would be interesting export destinations for us.
So the government has brought out this revised petroleum bill, and can you tell us a little bit more about how this bill could potentially impact to create opportunities for investors like China and India and other emerging markets?
Well, first of all, China is one of the destinations that we are working with very stringently in terms of exports. As I said, due to the incidence of the shale oil and gas. The Petroleum Industry Bill will ensure more transparency and more accountability. It will ensure that investors have much more of a long-term handle on their investment prospects, to ensure that what they're putting into the country will give them the requisite returns on investment, particularly as we go into the deep and ultra-deep plays, offshore, where many of the multis will be taking part in the next 5, 10, 15 years. They have to be sure of the sanctity of their investment, and the fact that the legal parameters will protect them going forward with these investments. And so we expect to see emerging markets such as China and India coming into the play over the next 5 years. As you may know, China is already very much in the Nigerian oil and gas sector, as it is in a number of other sectors in our economy. What we expect to see over the next 5 years with the emergence of the Petroleum Industry Bill is China taking much more of an acreage investment in our blocks, particularly in the deep and ultra-deep.
And among the international investors, as you highlighted, China has been an active player. So what kind of, how do you assess China's investment scale and impact in Nigeria?
Oh, I think that Nigeria-China relations from an economic point of view have been steadily progressing over the last 5, 10 years or so. At this point in time, I think that we are at a very, very good benchmark, so to speak, from where China and Nigeria have a unique opportunity to actually move much more rapidly in terms of partnerships on investments, particularly in this case in the oil and gas sector. As I said, we would expect that over the next 5 years, the scale of China's investments, which has been quite good, would actually increase quite rapidly.
We often hear, criticisms over this kind of investment. What do you react to that? What do you make of these?
Well, I think that on the whole, China-Nigeria relationships have been fairly good and fairly stable, and that in terms of our economic partnerships, we've handled them quite well with equity and a balance on both sides. The hope is that as we go forward, we can increase the level of investment, but with equity in terms of the way that it's handled by both China and Nigeria.
What messages you would give to Chinese investors in your industry in particular? What opportunities are there for them when they invest?
I think that the scope of opportunities for Chinese investors in the Nigerian oil and gas sector are quite numerous at this point in time. There are opportunities in the upstream in terms of actual block and acreage coming into that. There are opportunities in the downstream sectors, in the refineries, in the setting up of petrochemical plants, setting up of fertilizer plants, methanol plants, LPG facilities. That is a whole slew. And as we go forward, as I have said severally, as we explode Nigeria into a gas E&P country, there will be numerous opportunities for Chinese investors in the midstream gas sector of the Nigerian oil and gas industry. So all in all, I think this is a wonderful time for Chinese investors to look at upping the ante in terms of their investments in the Nigerian oil and gas industry, where they already are a considerable force.
Thank you very much, Minister. We appreciate your time.